Good morning. We're at the Windsor Star News Cafe. I'm Don MacArthur with Dylan Christie, and we're still here with Anne Jarvis. She just broke down her endorsements in wards 1 to 5, and we're going to talk about her endorsements in wards 6 through 10. So you're giving it to the incumbent in Ward 6.
I am, yeah. Joanne is, well, clearly she's smart, and she has been willing to make tough decisions over the last 4 years. And I think with a lot of change possible, 4 new councillors and obviously a new mayor, that the council will need some experience. But I would like to give a shout out again to Alex de Nonville, young guy running in that ward. He just seems really refreshing. I mean, he's seems very earnest and knows he's probably going to get killed, but he's still willing to, to put his name out there. And it's just, we're concerned about youth leaving the community, and we've had a number of young people put their names out in this election, and he's one of them. And I think that if he keeps it up, if he follows council, wants to continue to be involved, he could be a contender next time.
Yeah, he was on here at Trail Talk yesterday. We were really impressed with him. Like a lot of kids, he pursued journalism, and he went out west, and he's come back, and his heart's in the right place and very well spoken. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we'll move it on to Ward 7. That was a tough one. Well, kind of is the recent by-election. So you have Eric Kuzmarczyk, who's the current councillor, and that's who you're actually endorsing.
Yes. That was, he's been in there for about 10 months, I guess, and that was a pretty close by-election and went down to the last poll, I believe. Yeah. He won by something like 52 votes. So it's kind of an odd, as the mayor pointed out, it's kind of an odd situation. He's a newcomer, yet he's still an incumbent. I went with him because I think, Angelo Marignani is making his third run at this, and Angelo has some good ideas, and he certainly has worked very hard, has knocked on a lot of doors. But I felt that Eric is more of a big ideas kind of guy. He's the guy who pushed the city having more of a role in education, even though it's a provincial responsibility, because he recognizes that education is crucial to the city's future. He's also done a number of other interesting things. He publishes his voting record, by the way, and he notes the issues that are the bigger, more controversial issues, and he'll give an explanation of why he voted the way he does. He's taken on student advisors at council to try and engage young people. He's done a lot in bringing robotics to the city. That's part of his job as Director of Youth Programs at We Tech Alliance. But he really has gone above and beyond in that. And I think that's the kind of, out of the box, to use a cliched phrase, thinking that the city needs.
Excellent.
Okay, again, you stuck with the incumbent in Ward 8. Right.
Bill Mara, again, I think we need some experience for the council. And I felt that while his rant against Eddie was pretty unbecoming, he is capable of much more. We saw him in a number of votes in the last year or two start to sort of stick himself out on the edge. One of them was the Auditor General. After Todd Langlois was fired, it was Bill Mara that moved the motion to keep an in-house Auditor General and hire somebody else. And of course, that was one of the most controversial issues that the city council handled. And Bill Mara took the lead on that. So, but I think that if he's going to be, well, clearly he's going to win. And I think what he needs to do on the next council is, he needs to really be a leader. He's certainly capable of doing it, and he's going to have to do it. And I think he needs to tell it like it is and leave nothing on the table, as I wrote. So, you can't get to the end of your term, as he did with his rant against Eddie, and then start complaining. Just do it. Do it during your term while you're there.
Sure. For sure. Okay.
All right, now you didn't go with the incumbent in Ward 9.
No, I didn't. Hillary Payne is, if you remember, he started his term with a bit of a black mark. He didn't live in the ward. And the big thing was he was fighting a lawsuit against the city regarding the boarded up house on Indian Road. But and there were, predictions of this guy was going to be, a pain in the neck. Well, he actually turned out to be pretty good. He's a progressive guy. He's in his 80s, and he's a very progressive guy. He was a big fan of separated bike lanes from the beginning. He worked very hard. In the last election, I think he went to every door at least once and was on his way around again, and he's still out there knocking on doors. But I did feel that it was time for somebody newer. So I went with Kieran McKenzie. He is a activist, long involved in politics as well on his own, as well as as Brian Massey's legislative assistant. And I think that he really nailed the issue in Ward 9, which is the unusual fact that Ward 9 is growing, whereas the rest of the city has stagnated in places and even shrank. And that growth has not been managed well in Ward 9. I mean, you can see that when you go out toward the big shopping centers, and there's 2-lane roads with ditches on either side, and traffic is clogged up. So I really feel that he gets the big picture out there, and I think he knows his way around politics, and I think he'll be good.
Awesome.
Okay, everyone's always waits for this one. It's save the best till last. Eddie Francis sort of bobbed on this one, ducked a little bit. Didn't endorse anyone. You hit it square in the face. You came out, you addressed the Magny issue and said, no way.
Well, I think that's only fair. I mean, if you say you're making endorsements, then you make your endorsements. I think that Eddie was right in that, there was a lot to like about Al before the library scandal. He was young, he's very energetic. He did have a lot of good ideas. He took on the Windsor Hum issue, but then there was a scandal. And it wasn't only what he did, it was how he handled it and how he's still handling it. I mean, if you recall, he wrote a piece for the Star last February about it, and it looked like an attempt to make a bit of a preemptive strike, because the election was coming up. And it really was, it was kind of appalling. It was, he was self-serving, he blamed others, he painted himself as the victim. Now, when he went out canvassing, when I went out canvassing with him, it was pretty impressive the way he handled it. But I think, what I was seeing, he would bring the issue up at the door, even when people didn't say anything about it. But I think, you're looking at a shrewd politician who was trying to get out in front of the problem. And he certainly did a good job at that. But, when we talked a bit about, what he did and how he handled what he did, and I asked him, well, why did you handle it that way? Why didn't you just come clean? And he said to me, well, it was a very scary time. And I thought, what do you mean a very scary time? And he said, well, the media was coming down on me really hard, the public discourse was coming down on me really hard, and I just felt that he was not the victim. The taxpayers and the people who put their faith in him were the victims. So I really question whether or not he understands still what he did. And for that reason, I could not support him, even though I felt that he had tremendous potential. But
nope.
So
okay.
Instead, you went with the banker with the rock star name, as you so put it.
I did. There's a lot of candidates in that ward. As you know, there's 8 candidates, including Al. I think the danger is that they will split the vote, because there really was, to be quite honest, there was no one who really stood out. So that's the issue, that they could split the vote and Al could get back in. But I felt that Jim Morrison is, he's a, as you said, banker, longtime banker. He really does know the issues. I mean, he talked about a number of issues: the Auditor General, amenities on the riverfront, the problems with Dougal Avenue at the railway underpass, the problems on Dominion Boulevard. So he really had done his homework. He'd been going to council since last spring. He'd actually read the budget, the capital budget, and he's very sensible in his approach. Again, kind of like Daniel Abelser. And so I felt that he was the best one to go with.
Maybe he'll break on through, But anyway, Jim Morrison, he's going to be on Trail Talk tomorrow. He's coming on the show tomorrow morning. We'll talk to him about that. Anne, fascinating stuff. You've really done your homework. She'll be back on Friday. We hope it's still the plan. Your mayoral candidates, she's going to break that down.
Excellent.
On Friday. Thanks for joining us here in the News Cafe.